welcome to another FDF exclusive interview. Today, myself and my co-star Danny Weber will be interviewing one of the premier quarterbacks in the ELF, the Texas Takeoff, the Tarleton State Stat Stuffer, the Vienna Virtuoso, the New York Kid hailing from Orchard Park, Mr. White Lamar himself, the Ben VP Holmes. How are you doing, my man?
Oh, that was awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Again, now that I know that you can actually, get up and go, got to start calling you, the White Lamar. That's the new thing for you.
All right. I like it. It's not bad.
But no, I'm glad we could finally have you on. How did we not even get you on last season? Like we talked about you so much, and I don't even know if we ever reached out.
Yeah, I fly under the radar. You guys know me by now. I just kind of go with it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I figured Danny of all people would have locked this one down, being the Vienna guy himself. But
sure, classic jersey he's got right there too. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, my team got relegated basically, so it's
there's still a chance next year. Who knows?
Yeah, they can always come back, and maybe once I become owner, then we can fix some of the problems.
Yeah. There you go.
But just to kind of dive in, for folks who might be unfamiliar, we attract a lot of American listeners who are new to the ELF. We're kind of the first stop shop before they get on to like Matt and Jamal and the rest of the guys who know a ton about the ELF. So just kind of give us a little bit of your backstory. How did you end up in Europe playing American football?
Yeah, that's a good story. I was kind of in and out of the CFL there for a little bit, for like 2.5 years. Was on practice squads, the backup, third string, got a couple opportunities, but then I was like, like I want to play. Like I don't want to be a backup anymore. You know what I mean? Like I hadn't played like a full season of football of being the guy and years, so I was like, all right, let me find what else I can do. And I was really trying to find some stuff in the States and, the UFL, XFL deal kind of going on. They were looking for a little bit, bigger of a name, if you will. And then all of a sudden, I started getting like DMs from like just some random teams. I won't name them, but some random teams like, hey, our quarterback went down. We need you. I'm like, what is this? Like what? Like, what is the ELF? Like, I have no idea. And then I got a message from Coach Chris Kalaikai of the Vikings, obviously. And he was like, hey, man, I love your film. Our quarterback is going to retire after the season, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like, where are you? Like, where is the Vikings? Like, what, like, how do I get there? What do I do? Like, so we started talking, and there was about 7 teams that ultimately reached out and was like, hey, like, we want to bring you over, whatever. And, and I knew nobody in that league. Like, I didn't even know what the teams were, so I was like, I can't really call anybody to like say like, hey, is this real? Like, is it fake? Like, what's this all about? So I started watching some YouTube clips, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I got to realize, like, okay, Vienna is a good team. Like, this is a great opportunity, So it was ultimately down to like Vienna and a couple other teams, and Coach Chris really sold me on the family oriented vibe that Vienna has. So he talked to my fiance for like 3 hours on the phone because she was like, we're not going over there. And then after the phone call, she was like, oh, okay, I guess we can go. It sounds pretty cool. So yeah, it was a great experience, but so naive to the game that is played over there. And after a full year of being there, it was like, wow, I never want to leave,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we stumbled upon it last year, and we're like, "What in the world?"
Right?
Like, we started this podcast thing, and we're like, the NFL season is only X amount of months long. It's like, what are we going to do?
Right.
Like, just diving into the history of football in Europe is crazy.
Yeah, nuts. So, and like, especially at the Vikings, like they have the AFL. I don't know if you guys know what that's been around forever. And I'm like, when did you guys start playing football over here? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's a weird world.
Yeah. Yeah. When Danny first brought it up to me, I was like, American football in Europe.
Yeah.
Like I kept asking again. I'm like, are you sure that it's not soccer? And yeah, Danny was like, no, dude. And he started like showing me like actual clips, and I was like, oh, they're playing like legit like American football out there. Like that's cool. So
sure. That's funny.
But so that's how you got there. And obviously in your first season, you guys made the championship game, went undefeated. You ended up a little bit short. What was the message following the championship game? Is there anything like specific that the team plans to kind of change in the training camp section, or just the vibe after the championship game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the vibe obviously was like, we lost and it sucked, and it is what it is, but we got there. We got to the mountaintop. Obviously we couldn't stay on it, but we just ran into a juggernaut of a team. Ryan is, they're the best team in that league for a reason. They're big, they're fast, they play to the whistle, sometimes a little after the whistle, which I like, so, and they're just you can't make mistakes when you're playing in that type of game against that type of team. And, and unfortunately, kind of in all aspects for us, we kind of hit a roadblock there. And, we came out pretty strong on offense, and, maybe just we kind of stalled in the second half and just couldn't play catch up. And especially against, like I said, a team like that, you just can't really play catch up. And especially them being in a hometown, it was in there basically an hour away from where they're at. I didn't see one purple jersey in the stands, so I was like, all right. But yeah, I think the message, Coach Chris, was just like, stick together. Don't be pointing fingers, which we didn't. We're a pretty solid unit, and everybody was just kind of loving up on each other, and telling each other we love them and whatnot. And but I think right after that game, it was most like, I want another shot. Like I want to go get them again, or whoever it may be. But I want to run out of that tunnel again in front of 50,000 people and, try and hoist a trophy. And I think everybody was more kind of pissed off, like, we made it, we got to win it, So I think going into next year, it's just, last year was last year, just flush it. And, this is going to be a new team, kind of some new faces, as you guys see, and, hopefully we grew from that. And, the young guys, maybe when they get out there in a big stage, because we'll play Ryan again this year in a big stage, and maybe they won't be so wide-eyed, and, it's just straight business. You don't have to look around at all the fans. So.
Right. So, I mean, I guess, for you specifically, obviously it seems like you're more than willing to kind of move past it and grow from it and learn from it. What are you doing specifically, if there is anything like different from your normal routine and training, to prepare for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I don't think anything changes really. Everybody can say, oh, it lights a fire under your butt or whatever. But, at this point in my career, if I don't have a fire lit, then I might as well not play, Obviously I'm still a little sour about it, but, you got to flush it, especially at my position. You got to have kind of short-term memory, and, I think I've watched that game like twice and was just like, all right, I'm over it. And you try and learn from it, and and we're gonna watch that game again probably a lot this coming season, because we got to play them twice, and but you just try and you have the good and the bad, and you try and pick from the good and flush the bad, and that's all you can really do. And as far as training, I've really had a full off season of okay, I know where I'm going, because in other off seasons prior, I didn't know where I was going. I was bouncing around the CFL or other teams, so, and now I know the offense, I know the guys, I know, how I'm getting over there. I know where I'm staying. So now I could really focus in on this off season and just hit the weights and hit the track. So it's been good.
Well, good. And, you mentioned that exactly where you're going to be. Do you want to talk a little bit about the extension, how that went about? We're obviously glad to have you back, and hopefully for a while. So,
yeah, I don't know, but it's
however much you're allowed to tell us. Sorry, I should say that.
Sure. No, I just signed this just for this past year or whatever, just for one more year, and it really kind of started midway through the season. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I could get used to it, and I told Coach Chris, I was like, man, this is a cool game. And he was just kind of like, would you stick around? Like we've never had a quarterback come back after, 1 year. And I was like, really? Okay, let me talk to the wife, whatever, she kind of calls. So I waited till they got over here and they came mid-season, and probably after the second game they were here, I had a contract on my desk and kind of was just like, all right, like I got to really make a choice. So we had that done mid-season, so we just didn't tell anybody. But yeah, nice. It was good. But yeah, this coming season, I'm getting old, man. I'm 30 years old, and I don't know. I'd love to play, another year, and because man, the ELF is growing. It's growing like crazy. It seems like I jumped in at the right time with a great team and great coaching staff and great players. It's kind of hard to step away, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But so obviously there's players that you guys still have signed and still need to sign, but from what you can tell us, what roster addition are you most looking forward to? You kind of have a similar offense.
Yeah. Similar offense with Yannick Meyer coming in. I think that's out there. That's been out there.
Yeah, that's been out for a while.
Yeah. So, and he's a special talent, man. He's a big dude. He's fast, physical, can take a 5-yard hitch for 60. And, watching some of his game with Hennessy last year, it seemed like he was a pretty like a safety blanket for him, and yeah, I'm super excited about him. But we got some young cats coming up from our AFL team. They're pretty good. This one kid named Niels, he could be pretty special. We got Daniel Schwang. He could be pretty good. But on defense, we got another Finn, Timmy. I'm gonna botch his name, but Nuika or something like that.
Some rookie. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. But he was like rookie of the year last year or something like that. And
last year, 2 years.
2 years ago. So I was like, whoa, why hasn't nobody signed him? But I'm glad we did, Yeah. And then I think Buckram, Divine Buckram, I think he's a pretty good player as well. I know he's always highly regarded in, the top 5A defensive imports, every year. So that could be good for us. So we'll see.
You guys,
I wish I could tell you more, but I don't think so right now.
We can talk off camera. It's fine.
Yeah, sure.
But you guys averaged 38 points on offense last year. Are you going to beat that this year with Yannick coming in? And hopefully if Beer Bomber can stay healthy?
Yeah, if that big beer tree if he could stay healthy, man, he would be in the NFL. That dude is a mismatch nightmare. When he's full, the whole year he wasn't healthy at all. Like he was always 80%. He finally got to like 90% in Paris, and he caught like 3 touchdowns and was a freak. But like one of the last ones, he got upended and like his knee kind of went out of like whack there. And so for the Rhine game, he was back to like 50%. I'm like, all right, what else is new? But no, I love Beer Bomber, man. First of all, he's a great human being. He's super easy to work with, and he understands space. Like, a lot of guys will be like, okay, run a 10-yard out. Okay, 10-yard out. You know what I mean? But, if a guy widens, he'll hook it up and kind of curl for you. So he's a super, smart player. But, yeah, I don't know if we'll beat it. Who knows? Maybe. If everybody stays healthy, I think we'd be pretty damn good. Man, it's tough because you got Yannick, you got Reese Horn, you got Noah Teray, you got Beer Bomber, you got Kari, you got Jonas Schutz kind of came along a little bit last year. So, and then you got the young guys, the Niels, the Schwam, so it could get pretty interesting. I feel like it's like, throw me the ball, but I don't know. So
I mean, yeah, it just options out the ass. I'd pardon my French for that one, but truly, like, just too many options to count. And with that, especially if you are able to average even as many points as last year, but let's just say more for the sake of it. I think I know the answer here, but I'm going to ask it anyways. That would probably put you pretty firmly in that MVP conversation, just like you were last year. Does winning the MVP mean anything to you?
I'd be lying if I said no, right?
Okay.
I think it'd be pretty cool to win an MVP, but man, I want to win that championship, man. I really do. I got a little taste of it, and it's like a drug, man. I don't know what it was, but it was so cool running out of that tunnel and playing in front of all those fans and playing against really good competition. Like, that's what I love, is just playing against the best, and trying to beat the best, each week. So that's what my goal is. And, if the MVP comes, sure. That's always going to be cool, but I really don't think about that kind of stuff. I just kind of let that come naturally. Like, if my play is good enough for that, then it's going to come. And if it's not, then, I won't be in that discussion. And there's some really good guys out there that are probably more deserving, or, at least preseason wise and whatnot. But, I'm just going to go out and do my thing. And, if I get an MVP, I get an MVP. If I don't, I don't. I'm not going to say, it doesn't matter, because, part of me is like, yeah, it'd be freaking sweet. But, that's probably maybe like 5% of me. But, the other 95% is just like, let's get to that championship, man. But yeah, I know, like, the cliche, like, you got to go 1-0, each week. Coach Chris talks about it every week. Hey, we got to be 1-0. Oh, okay, I got you. Let's go. Okay, 1-0. So, but yeah, he does a really good job of doing that as well. Because I know I've been on teams before, that they just are like, okay, yeah, we're in the semifinals, or, week 10 game, man, whatever. And then you get to week 6 and you're in a dogfight and you lose, yeah. Well, he does a really good job of, staying the course and understanding the end goal, but also the missions in between. So.
Gotcha. And I really respect the honesty too, because I feel like a lot of times whenever you ask people about an MVP, they're like, no, this is, it's a team sport. I only care about the championship. Like, even just saying that there's a 5%, I mean, you're a competitor, I'm sure that, like, to your point, winning it would be freaking sweet, so I appreciate the honesty on that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm an honest guy.
But so, yeah, you said Coach Chris talks about week after week. How do you feel about your 2025 schedule? It seems a little bit tougher than last year, especially with your interconference games, because you got the Fire twice, Paris twice, and then obviously the Raiders twice again, and then all your conference games.
Yeah, I think Ryan's going to be a different team, but I don't think they're going to be. I don't think there'll be a drop-off. I think they signed some good players, brought some good players back, some really good players left that made that team really good. So we'll see how they mesh. It's going to be tough for them because they got a new signal caller. I shouldn't say tough for them, but, it'll be interesting to see, how those guys work with each other. Jadrian was there for 2 years. So everybody was kind of familiar with each other, and, everybody knew each other. So now you got a new sheriff in town, and, we'll see what he can do. And then you go to Paris, and Paris has a new signal caller as well. Kind of similar to, a Zach guy, kind of runs around a little bit. And, I saw some of his film from the GFL. I'm I don't know anything about the GFL. I couldn't name you one team in that league. But I can see talent when I know talent when I see it, and that kid can throw the ball, and he can run around a little bit too. And he seems like a good guy. I watched an interview on him. So we'll see. We got a pretty damn good defense. So not sure. And then those guys in black and silver, those Raiders, man. It's this huge, like, it's Raiders week. Everybody freaks out for it, and it's fun. It's a cool little, in country, in home rivalry that's kind of not really a rivalry, but it is. But I don't know, like it's whatever. But everybody hates the Raiders and everybody hates the Vikings, so it is what it is. But man, I respect their head coach is a really good dude. He's talked to me after the games. Herman, I think his last name is Coach Herman. He does some stuff on defense that's pretty neat. Took me a little bit to figure out. I think I had one of my worst passing statistic games against them when we went there. And he kind of confused me a little bit here and there. But like I said, I'm honest. I'll give credit when credit's due, and he runs a good defense. But maybe we'll be a little bit more prepared this year. So we'll see. But yeah, it's fun to play down there too, man. I love it. I love that area where their stadium is. I don't know if y'all have seen it on TV, but like big old mountains in the background and
pictures.
I've seen pictures. Yeah,
it's pretty sweet. And I've got to know some of those guys playing for Team Austria. Those guys kind of come around Vienna a little bit, and they all know the Vienna guys. And, I talked to some of them after the game or in the off season or whatnot. And they're all really nice dudes, but it's just when you get on that field, it's, fuck you. So, yeah.
Well, so I was going to say, I noticed that you said that it's a rivalry, but it's not a rivalry. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like for me, I know where you're getting at, but
Call your bluff.
For me, it's not a rivalry for me because it's like, okay, you're just another team. But like for these guys that are in Austria, it's like we hate the Raiders. So now I'm like, all right, I hate the Raiders. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I mean. Like for me, it's not a true rivalry because it's like I haven't grown up in this like Raiders versus Vikings thing. And like if you play for the Raiders, you cannot play for the Vikings. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. So, but man, it's always a bloodbath when we play against. Like you feel that little extra, like, okay, y'all are coming with some heat today. Okay, I get it. All right, don't like us, fine, whatever. I know there's a record out there somewhere of wins, losses, and sometimes that. This might be clickbait for the Raiders. I really don't care, but but man, I respect them. But. Yeah, I love their head coach is he's a good dude. I like their head coach a lot. So
we won't make any clickbait out of it. I had to clarify. I didn't know if I wasn't sure if you're out here talking shit or not. I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, they've never beat the Vikings in the ELF, so
right. Right. And that's statistics, right? That's just facts. So
numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I might have to clip. I'm sorry.
But bouncing back to the Fire real quick, they announced the signing of your former wide receiver, Jordan Bois.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you think he's going to play in the Fire scheme? And are you sad he's gone?
I'm super sad he's gone. He was an awesome guy.
He seems like it.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. I call him the little Ferrari because he's about 5'2". But no, he's awesome, man, and he's so fast. He's just a mismatched nightmare. He'll take the top off of the defense and open it up for somebody else. And for them to get a homegrown and that Kofi kid and the E and that Jordan Bois, whoever their American is going to love those two guys, opening up the way for them and whatnot. So, yeah, like I said, I really don't – that's why I don't think there's going to be a huge drop-off with Ryan. I don't know Chad Jeffrey's game that much. I didn't – because we never played against Munich or, scouted that. And I really don't know Chad at all. I don't have any interaction with him. I've talked to Jadrian a little bit throughout the off season, and respect his game and I respect everybody's game. I like the Hennessy kid in Stuttgart. Clark's a winner, man. He's got how many ever championships and, Jeffrey was, he was a dragon, a Danube dragon, which they play the Vikings. And they don't like him, so I guess I don't like him. I don't really know, but
I think they're very close in location as well.
Yeah, they're super close. It's right across the city there, and it's a big rivalry. Like these rivalries, man. It's all right, now I'm a part of it. So if you're a dragon, I don't like you. So whatever. but yeah, man, I'm super upset. Not upset because business is business, but I think Jordan's going to do really well there, and I hope he doesn't do well for 2 games when he plays against us. But no, man, he's a really good dude. So I wish him nothing but the best.
Nice. Yeah, definitely fierce competitor. I get why you call him Little Ferrari.
We had him on for an interview last year, and he called himself a psycho. Is that true?
Yes.
Like he said, once I get on the field, he's like, I'm psycho.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. Like he doesn't shut up. Like he's just like, hey man, I'm wide open. Da, da, da. I'm like, all right, dude, settle down. You go back and look at film, and he's open, more times than he's not. So he's just running by somebody. It might not even be the right route, and he's just, I'm open, So it's like, all right, throw it to
Love
him.
it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. You kind of mentioned it as well with some of the great talent level in the ELF and how it's growing, it's expanding, it's getting better. The likes of like Keelan Cole and Reed Sinnett, who have actually played like actual NFL snaps, are now joining the ELF ranks, which is really cool. Coaches like Jack Del Rio joining the ELF. What do you think that means for the ELF as a whole, that these players and coaches are choosing the ELF versus like the CFL or the UFL?
Yeah, I just think it means, we're doing something right. The ELF is definitely gaining some traction, and especially to get a dude like Del Rio. That's the biggest name I've probably heard to come over to Europe in a long time. I don't know about you guys, but we'll see how he does with Paris, and we'll see how he gets those guys to play for him and whatnot. And, I know he's a defensive guy, so I'm sure we'll get some cool little schemes from him and whatnot. And, so we'll see. But that was the biggest one in my eye. I was like, whoa, that's a pretty big name, I'm not super familiar with the other two. I know the one is a receiver and the other is a quarterback.
Yep.
I don't really know much about him. I know the Cole dude played like real live for a long time. I think
3-4 seasons.
Yeah, I think Sinnett was kind of in and out of like practice stuff and like some preseason, and then kind of found his way in the UFL a little bit. And I know he's kind of like a tall guy. Played at San Diego a little bit, and but I mean, his coordinator or head coach, I forgot his name.
Whittinger.
Yeah, Whitinger or something. Right? I know he's kind of considered like a mastermind over in Europe, and I guess every team he's kind of been on, they've had really great production and high level offense, and so I'm sure that's a perfect fit for him and his offense, and the vision that he wants to go in and find in an NFL caliber quarterback. So I'm sure he'll have success as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But to kind of get back to your question there, I think it's just the ELF is kind of doing things the right way, right? Like they're not overspending in some certain budgets, or going bankrupt, kind of like the XFL, USFL would do every year. It's like, okay, we got a new season and a new name and now these teams are gone. Now this team's, you know what I mean? It's like, and I think they're trying slowly but surely. Like the ELF is starting to, I think a few years ago it was like, the teams at the bottom were bad, right? And now it's like the teams at the bottom are starting to get to a level of like, okay, these guys aren't really that bad. They're pretty good, and like they could be dangerous, like Helvetic last year for us, like if we had to score 51 points, they scored 49, and it's like they weren't a very good football team, overall, but like they were sneaky. They were good enough, you know what I mean? So it's like, teams like that can kind of come up and bite you, like Prague. Like Prague last year was brutal. Now this year, like they could be pretty dang good. They got Hike, they got Embry, they got Patterson. I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but
Patterson, yeah.
And then they got that quarterback over there that started at Hamburg, and Hamburg was a kind of a dumpster fire last year anyway, and Hamburg this year is going to be pretty good, I think. They got Kitchens, they got a new head coach, they got Streeter over there who's pretty good, and so I think that kind of bottom tier, if you bottom tier teams are going to maybe take a next step and maybe compete for 6-7 wins, maybe a wild card. You know what I mean? It's only good for the league, and I think other teams like CFL, USF, or UFL, it's like the bad teams are bad and the good teams are good. You know what I mean? And it's like so. And I think it's really cool that the ELF makes it like European based. Like there's only 4 Americans on each team, which is like, okay, so your audience really doesn't have to be American based. You know what I mean? It has to be full Europe, like full go. And I think they do a really good job of it. I mean, look at the I don't know what they call it, the ELF championships. It's not the Super Bowl, but it's whatever the
ELF championship game.
ELF championship game.
Yes. So, I don't even know what game I played it, but you know what I mean. But like every year it gets bigger and bigger. Like this past year, there was like 60,000 people there. Like that's unheard of for football in Europe. You know what I mean? So. I think you see the NFL, like the NFL nowadays is like, okay, hey, there's like a market over there that really wants American football. And now you're seeing schedule regular season games over here and, kind of have partnerships with some of the ELF teams. So I think it's just growing, and I think it's going to take off, especially if there's another year of, really competitive football at all, like top and at the bottom. I think guys are going to jump on the train and be like, okay, what is this? And it's something to root for when NFL's not in session. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But you kind of answered our next question of like, where do you see the future of the ELF going? And it's like, what if there's something that the ELF can continue to do or start new to help grow the league? Because they wanted, what is it? They wanted 27 teams or something like that? 24 teams?
Yeah, 24 teams is what they're trying to get to.
Okay, the ELF is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's their like line of, that's their max teams they want to be.
Okay, and how many are there now?
16.
Okay, so they're almost there, but it's tough. It's tough to start a new football team. It takes a lot of money, I'm assuming. I don't really know, but and then you kind of get like, you get the Barcelonas that are like, okay, you hear kind of horror stories of sorry to point them out, but they're not around anymore. You kind of hear stories from them, but you got to really do, you got to have your ducks in a row when you're building a football team, and is 24 doable? Sure. But it's like, I hope that they don't do it in such a rushed fashion where it's like, okay, well, this product's no good. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like, well, so I hope they really obviously, I think Asume is a good commissioner. I think he's a smart guy and, he's a good businessman. And, hopefully he can kind of say like, hey, we're going to have this team here in the next couple of years. Like, let's try and find, facilities. Where's the guys going to live? Are they going to room with somebody? What's our homegrown situation like? Because we all know that was new to me was homegrown talent wins football games.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Right.
If you go to a place like, I don't know what, Turkey, I don't know, like, do they have good football? You know what I mean? So it's like,
right.
You got to find a spot that has good homegrown football talent, and luckily enough, Austria has some damn good football. But it sucks because we're probably one of the smaller countries, but we have 2 teams. So it's like, it's like, it makes you think like, okay, if we were just one kind of group of Raiders, Vikings, if we just united as one, and
wouldn't be fair.
Good luck with that one.
So, but Germany's so big; they're able to have such good talent on different teams because there's so many people. And then you get like Paris, like all of France is just theirs. Like
they need a second team.
They need a second team. Yeah,
it's crazy. So it's like you got these big countries that are like, okay, we got millions of people to choose from, and then there's Austria where it's like, okay, we got a couple thousand. You know what I mean? Like.
You got Northern Italy at least this year until the Milano team comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then maybe even there, like, you got like a couple guys. I don't know, So.
Yeah. I think that you made a good point, though, earlier about those, and you put it much nicer than we do on this podcast, the bottom tier teams getting better in talent. And even though, last year there were 17 teams, whereas this year there's 16, It still feels like the league grew though, because we discarded, unfortunately, two bad franchises in Barcelona and Milano and adopted the Nordic Storm, which they look like they're going to be really good this year. And so I think you made a really good point in that. And so also kind of curious, what are your thoughts on the Nordic Storm? You got the dynamic duo from Rhine making their way over to the Copenhagen to play some football. How do you think that team's going to stack up?
Yeah, I think it's a smart move, for that organization to get, two really good players in our league. That's a good foundation to build off of. And then you got our guy X, he went up there and, joined the old Storm guys. And then you got, I don't know who their other A guy, I think Glenna was his name.
Luke Glenna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't super familiar with his game. I honestly didn't know who he was. We just never scouted Madrid, so I really didn't know. And then obviously you guys know me. I really don't pay attention to any other team. I don't You're okay, cool. You're that guy on that team, whatever. But I think they could be pretty good. I want to say they could be, as good as they kind of want to be. You know what I mean? It just depends on how they all mesh together. It's a first-time football team. I think I don't know if any team in the ELF has ever, constructed a team from scratch and won a championship. That would be a pretty cool feat for them to do. And I think, like I said, I think they got the really good pieces. I think, having a really good running back, I think he's number 2 in the league because Kari's number 1. But obviously he's kind of what you want as a running back, and then we kind of got what we want as a running back because I love Kari. He's one of my best friends, and I think he's a damn good running back. And then you got a top quarterback in the league, that wins every single year. He's either in the championship or right there or winning a championship. And I think that kind of starts your offense, right? That kind of, he's kind of going to be the vocal guy and put guys into position, and both of those guys have won championships. They've been there before, so they can kind of tell these guys, hey, this is what's going to fly. This is what's not going to fly. And then on defense, you got X. X has won a championship before. He was in the championship last year, so he's got a really good feel for what's going to fly, what's not going to fly. And he's just he's a natural leader. He's super short. I had to throw that out there, but what he lacks in height, he makes up with that physicality, man. He's one of the faster guys I've seen on that side of the football. And he's honestly a true, we talk almost every other week. He's a great dude, great human being. Kind of like what I was saying with Chris or Coach Kalaikai selling that, Vienna Viking family. It's a true family. No matter where you go, what other team you may go to, it's always going to be family. But coming back to Nordic, I don't know how good their homegrowns are going to be. I
can tell you they're big. They got some big boys out there in Scandinavia.
Sure. Right. So I think that's, going to be beneficial for them, if they get a good O-line and they get some, puzzle pieces that are either, I think it's Sweden and Denmark.
Yeah.
And the Swedes have some good football players. They have that linebacker from Berlin last year. That was a Swedish guy. Ludwig, I think his name was. He was a good player, so I know he signed with them. They have good pieces. It's just it really comes down to depth because football is super contact sport, obviously, and there's going to be injuries no matter what, and it just who do they have in the 2-3 slot, and are they going to be as good as like a German homegrown, you know what I mean? So those are kind of the uncertainties you got to kind of go with, but obviously you hope nobody gets injured and you play the whole season and whatnot. But I think they could be as I think we might be able to meet them in the championship. We hopefully if we do everything right. I don't know their conference. Do you guys know what their conference is? Who's in it?
Let's see. They got Berlin, Hamburg, and Rhine. So they're in the North Division.
Yeah, that's not an easy conference, right? Mm-hmm. So playing Rhine is going to be tough. Playing Hamburg, like I said, I think is going to be tough. Berlin, Berlin's the one team that I'm like, okay, what's going on over there? You know what I mean? It's like I don't know, but they have a good quarterback in Jake. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know they lost their receiver in Aaron Jackson, who I thought was top 3 receivers in the league.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That whole Aaron Jackson thing was weird, but
super weird. But hopefully he gets it figured out. But because that would have been a good signing for him in Helvetic. But I think they kind of lucked out with that. I mean, if that guy was their backup choice, like that's pretty, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, but and then. Yeah, so I think that's 3 good teams that they're going to have to face. I don't know what their out of conference games are. I know I think they play Paris. Nordic does.
It looks like they are playing. They have Helvetic for out of conference, Wrocław, and Frankfurt.
Gotcha.
3 out of conference teams.
Sure. Yeah, and I think Frankfurt should be good. That's a tough schedule. Because Wrocław is no joke either, man. They're pretty good. And
they have a serious home field advantage too. A lot of times they bring a lot of fans in too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I hope they do well. Because it's just good for the league. If a startup team can go out and produce and win football games and have a couple, all-stars on the team, maybe, I know Glenn and Jadrian are always going to be in that, category. So it'll make other teams say, hey, why can't we do it then? You know what I mean? And then it'll grow and grow. So we'll see.
Love it.
Yeah.
So kind of transitioning here kind of away from the more like functional on-field stuff, going to the off-field stuff here. What kind of perks do you get for being an A import, like stipends, housing, things like that? What are you allowed to tell us at least?
Yeah. I get a Ferrari. No, I'm just kidding.
Man, sign me up.
Right? No, they treat me really, really well over there in Vienna. There's a guy that really doesn't get talked about at all. Like nobody knows his name, I don't think. But his name's Leonard. I'm going to botch his last name, but his name's Leonard. And Leonard is our kind of Mr. Do-It-All. And from day one, whatever I needed, this dude would get it done. And I was like, okay, I need this, and that. The next day, it was on my desk or it was in my apartment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I was like, okay, is this kind of a fluke? Are they trying to get me here for a couple weeks? Like, what's the deal? And, the more and more I needed stuff because I just was away from home for the first time. It's like this kid would do it. And Coach Chris would always be there. And Coach Max would always be there. And, so the perks part, there's really no like, oh, I get a G-Wagon or, oh, I get this or I get that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really just more like, hey, if you need it, we can get it for you, or we can try and get it for you at least, And, I do the one thing that I do have is, a spot for me and my family that can accommodate me, my family, and 2 kids. And, I've talked to other guys around the league, like after a game, like A imports will come up to you and be like, hey, what's it like over here? And I'll be like, oh, shoot, we get a meal plan. We get this, we get that, we get whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, we got to drive the train here. We got to, live with 7 people, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad I'm not you. So, but, everybody in Vienna gets their own apartment, and it's pretty dang cool. Like from what I've heard from other teams, it's I think we're pretty top notch in what we do, and that obviously starts with our owner Robin and goes down to our head coach, Coach Chris, and the guys in between. The guys like Leonard make everything else easier, and I think as an American, you kind of need that, and because some guys are coming over here for the first time and they're like, well, how do I get on a train? How do I get on a subway? Like, I never rode a train ever in my life. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? And to have a guy like that, it makes everything easier. And then you can just focus on football,
Right. I know, that's nice to have. And, I've noticed, I don't know if they've officially released these yet or not. You also may not be able to talk about them, but it's looking like the ELF is gearing up to start selling like actual player jerseys instead of, they always have these that has the year on them that they call them fan jerseys. Looks like they're about to start releasing some player jerseys. Are you going to get royalties for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I know we have like an import. I seriously don't. Have like an import kind of meeting about that kind of stuff. And to go back to that question of what could the ELF do to support the brand and build it up and whatnot. That's what they could do. They could give us, not give us, but help us earn maybe more money or do certain things for if we want X amount of jerseys, we can order X amount of game jerseys, not the t-shirt jerseys. You know what I mean? It's because that's just cool. Like they're stitched on, they're nice, it's cool to sign them for people back home or to give them away to charity in Vienna for my sake. But I really don't know, but it'd be super cool if they do that, and we'll see. But I think the more and more they do that kind of stuff and kind of make it more player friendly, maybe bigger names come over and maybe not bigger names, but the more attention it may get, so I think it would only benefit the league.
Gotcha. And are there any like sponsorships like outside of the ELF that you've been able to get because of playing for Vienna?
No, yes and no. You can kind of get to this Vast. It's like this protein company over there. They will do some certain things with you. Like, I don't like KFC is like a huge sponsor of
hilarious.
The most random thing I've ever seen. Like,
love it.
We were in Berlin and like, it was like the KFC like game of the day or something. Like, and I see like the Colonel KFC guy like sitting in the corner. I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
I love that.
You'd see on the sidelines those like two red, like almost beanbag chairs with the KFC flag. I was like, I just want to sit there. It's like, how do I want to get there?
I wanted to steal one so bad, but after the game, like they would just rip them down. And I'm like, I'm taking that one next time. But no, no sponsorships really. Like, I think that's one thing for this year, like that I will try and, attack is maybe get into a local store or a local like mom and pop shop or something and try and like get out a little bit. Cause last year it was more of like, okay, how do I get to practice? Where is practice? What time?
Fair.
You know what I mean? Like, what do I need to bring to practice? So now it's like, okay, I'm super familiar with, the city and everybody. And hopefully I can kind of, spread out a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Do they have you guys put up like in the city or just on the outskirts? Like, are you guys near the practice facility or?
So we're like, we're right in the hub of the city, which is super nice because Vienna is an awesome city, like beautiful, like top 5 destinations in the world. But it's like maybe a 10-minute train ride to practice. So it's super, super quick, really nice apartment. Like it has a gym in the basement, a sauna in the basement, super accommodating. It's like a studio apartment. When my family comes, we move to a different place. But, that's a perk, I guess. But yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
But so last question. We ask every single person. We're always curious who they always say. But if you could take any NFL player and drop them on the Vienna Vikings, who would it be? Throw out the A import rule. You can keep
whoever you want.
You can keep your 2 DBs or whatever your other one is. We haven't announced that yet. But
okay. Do you guys know who it is?
We saw a rumor.
I was going to say Danny normally does. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. This way. Danny normally does.
Am I allowed to know the rumor? I won't say if you're right or wrong.
We'll answer this question. We'll end this, and then we'll go.
Okay, I'll shut up. All right. No, I think. Oh my gosh, that's a harder question than I thought it would be. Interesting. Can I do offense, defense?
Whatever you want.
Sure. Yeah.
You do you.
Okay, so I would love to play with Jason Kelsey as my center. I think he's like
a good one.
I think he's like a good old just get in your shit and let's ride type of offensive lineman, which I love. Like he's going to pancake you and tell you that he just pancaked you. And I think on defense, my favorite player for as long as I can remember, I don't even know if he like plays on a team anymore, was Jamal Adams. I don't know if you guys remember Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
But I love the way he played and like his swag, and he'd wear all the bands so his chin strap it's this company like Dry Fit or something. And that's why I wear that chin strap. If you look at my like pictures, it's like this big, like white kind of like mesh cloth thing. And he wears that. And I'm like, that's the only thing I could look cool in that he wears. But
you're not going to show up in like armbands this year?
Yeah, no. I won't do that. But like his Jordan cleats, like his visor, his swag, the way he dresses, like he's like, I'm kind of like fangirling a little bit, but whatever.
It's okay.
Yeah, but I think he would be, awesome in our defense. Like obviously,
that'd be crazy.
Covering dudes and coming off the edge and blitzing. So. Yeah.
I have to say, I do appreciate that you said Jason Kelsey. I think you're the first quarterback that we've interviewed that has said an offensive lineman. Normally guys say wide receivers, which makes sense because it's like who you're throwing to.
Yeah, sure.
But no, you're like, nah, I want a big boy up front who's going to lay somebody out for me. I love that.
Give me some beef,
Yeah.
Because I like my receivers. I think we got the best receiving core in the league, so.
I could agree with that, yeah.
Sure. So.
At least the deepest, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And then once you guys figure out who these young cats are, I think you'll be like, whoa, like this could be everybody could get a touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess I have one last thing. When Alex first released Ben VP last year, what was your initial thought on that?
I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I don't know, like Ben VP, whatever. And then I was just kind of like, all right, like, it's cool, it's whatever. And then it like got momentum and people were like posting my stuff like Ben VP. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? What is this? Like this game's traction. And then just over like probably since I came back from that injury, and I think I threw like 6 touchdowns against Warclaw or something like that. Everybody was like, Ben VP's back, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, all right, whatever. This is kind of cool. But, no, it's cool. Like and he's awesome. Like Malchow there, he came to a game. I got to meet him. He's a super big, Ben Holmes supporter. So that's always good. I love that. And he's got some really funny videos, like the one where he was in his football gear walking down the street.
Walking through London in full gear is crazy.
Dude, that's top notch right there. And then like Bressington, at first he was like, Ben Holmes is gonna suck. You know what I mean? Like I saw his like little thing he does about imports, and I was like, oh, screw this guy. Like what does this guy know? You know what I mean? But as the season kind of went on, I think I gained his respect a little bit, and he started, talking a little bit nicer about me and whatnot. And then, I was a little bit nicer to him. And but no, like this offseason, we've actually talked a whole bunch, and what he does for the game, and even you guys, like interviewing players and giving us platforms, and getting our kind of faces out there, and people that are maybe new to the game or whatever. It's like, okay, hey, this is who the guy is under the helmet. You know what I mean?
Right.
And how Bressington kind of changed his Instagram look. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it's now like,
oh yeah,
we have a group chat with like Alex, Matt, all them, and
gotcha. Yeah, it's super cool. Like I was like, who did he pay to do that? Like that's
no, he figured it out himself.
It was a player. It was one of the A imports. I forget who it was. He like in his free time does like graphic design and like models Instagram pages. So him and Matt sat down for like hours and they worked this out, and it's beautiful.
No, it's dope.
It's cool. Like everything that he's posting now, like the polls and, this is my analysis of this and this is why I do it and this is how I do it and who's this, who's that, blah, blah, blah. It's awesome. Like he's really like taken off in his little, like he found his niche, I guess, and I think he's getting some, I watched some of the comments and like, he'll go live or something on like Prague or the Panthers and he'll get some like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's funny, man. I love it. But, he's super cool, dude. Like I said, I love what he's doing for the game. I love what you guys are doing for the game. Malchow, especially walking down to London with a full set on. That's hysterical.
Yeah, I had the privilege to meet him because I was over in London a couple months ago, and we went out to get a couple drinks, and he's just an interesting dude.
Yes, yeah.
No, he's funny for sure.
Yeah, and he loves football too. Like,
yeah, he's an OC for whatever random team in London,
which is crazy. So
he was talking about it. He's like, our only hope is we have this. I think he said, he was like, we have a Mexican running back who's big. He's like, I'm just going to hand the ball off 14, 15, 16 times in a row.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Got to, right? You never know. But yeah, was there any more questions? I don't know.
Right.
No, I think that's it. Hopefully, Danny and I are fingers crossed. More likely Danny than I will because it's harder because I'm having to move here soon. But hoping to go to the championship game in September. It'd be great if we could see you there. And I will be just as annoying as Malchow, except for instead of the full football uniform, I wear cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and you're up all the time because I love to be the annoying American.
You got to. So
yeah, I'm hoping to get over to the first Battle of Austria, so maybe we can see each other there.
Yeah, that'll be sweet. That'll be in the Generali too. That's a super sick stadium.
It looks sweet.
Oh, it's electric, and it's like pregame. There's nobody there. And then you're like, oh, shit, did people forget about our game? Like, what are we doing? And then all of a sudden you go back into the tunnel and you're like, you start hearing the crowd and then you come out for like the entrance or whatever. And you're like, holy shit, like this place is packed. It's pretty sweet.
Love that. Oh, yeah.
But okay, so is it time now for the rumor?
Here, I'll
outro and then we're good.
Yeah, I got it. I got y'all. Sorry for those of y'all listening. Y'all will not get to hear the super spicy rumor, but thanks so much for checking out the FDF exclusive interview with Mr. Ben VP himself, Ben Holmes, out of Vienna, playing for the Vikings. We appreciate you having you on the show, brother. And I hope that you kick ass this season.
Thanks, man. I appreciate y'all.